Have you ever wondered what really goes on behind the closed doors of a government office? Or, where your tax money actually ends up? Well, in India, there's a key that can unlock those secrets. It's called the Right to Information Act. Today, we're going to break down this incredibly powerful tool that every single citizen has. Let's get into it.
So you have to understand, for decades, the default setting in India was total secrecy. Seriously, there was this old law from 1923, the Official Secrets Act, that basically kept all government work under lock and key. But then, in 2005, the Right to Information Act came along and just completely flipped the script. It created a brand new default, transparency.
So just how big of a deal was this change? Get this number in your head. Over 4,800. That's the average number of RTI applications filed by regular citizens every single day. This isn't some dusty, forgotten law. It is a living, breathing part of India's democracy. Okay, so let's start with the absolute core of it all. What power does this act actually give you? Well, it's your fundamental right to know. And this right is incredibly hands-on. We're not just talking about getting a piece of paper in the mail. As a citizen, you can literally walk into a government office and ask to inspect their records. You can get certified copies of documents. You can even take samples of materials, say, from a new road being built, to see if the quality is up to scratch.
So who exactly are you asking? The official term is public authority. And let me tell you, the definition is huge. It covers all the obvious stuff, like government ministries and public banks. But it also includes any organization, even some NGOs, that gets a significant amount of its funding from the government. Okay, so you know you have the right, and you know who you can ask. So what's the next step on our little quest here? Actually filing the application.
And you might be thinking, oh, here we go, this is where it gets complicated. But honestly, it's not. The online portal makes it so straightforward. You just go to the website, pick the department, type out your question, pay a tiny fee, and hit submit. You even get a registration number so you can track its progress. The whole thing is designed to be easy.
Still, this is the one question that stops so many people dead in their tracks. We all have this fear of ridiculously complicated forms and endless bureaucratic runaround. But the truth is, the law was specifically designed to cut right through all of that noise.
If you remember one thing, remember this. It is simple by design. You never have to explain why you want the information. There's no special form you have to fill out. You could literally write your request on a plain piece of paper, and legally, that is a valid application.
Let's just quickly run through the absolute must-haves. The fee is just 10 rupees, and it's totally waived if you're a below-poverty line citizen. You can pay in a bunch of different ways, and you can write in English, Hindi, or whatever your local official language is. The only thing you absolutely have to include is your name and a postal address. That's it.
All right, you've done it. You filed your request, so now what? Well, like any good quest, this one has rules. And knowing the timelines and the key players is absolutely essential if you want to succeed. The moment you file, a clock starts ticking. For most requests, the authority has 30 days to get back to you. But if your request is about something that concerns a person's life or liberty, that window shrinks to just 48 hours. And if they need to consult a third party, it can be extended up to 40 days.
The person on the other side, the one who is legally required to handle your request, is called the Public Information Officer, or PIO. Every single public authority has to have one. It is their job to get you the information you've asked for. They're your official contact point.
So can they just say no? Yes, they can, but only for a very specific list of reasons, things like national security or corporate trade secrets. But, and this is a huge but, there's a powerful override. Even if information falls into one of those exempt categories, it can still be released if the public interest in knowing about it is greater than the harm of revealing it.
Which brings us to a really crucial part of this journey. What happens if your path gets blocked? What do you do if your request is denied, or maybe even worse, just completely ignored?
Look, a rejection is not the end of the line, not even close. The Act has a very clear two-step appeal process baked right in. First, you appeal to a more senior officer inside that same department. If that doesn't work, you can take your case to the big guns,
the Independent State or Central Information Commission.
And here, you've got a strategic choice to make. You can file an appeal if you want to challenge the PIO's decision and get the information. Or you can file a complaint if there was a procedural screw-up, like they missed the deadline. Here's the key difference. An appeal is about getting the info. A complaint is about getting the officer penalized for not following the rules.
And believe me, those penalties have real teeth. The Information Commission can fine an official 250 rupees for every single day of delay, all the way up to a maximum of 25,000 rupees. This makes sure there are actual serious consequences for ignoring the law.
Okay, so we've covered the mechanics, the nuts and bolts. But let's zoom out now and look at the bigger picture. What is the real-world impact, both the power and, yes, the peril of this truly revolutionary act? The power of the act is just immense. It's a game changer for transparency, and it gives everyday citizens a real weapon to fight corruption. But the other side of that coin, the peril, is just as real. People face endless bureaucratic roadblocks, and tragically, sometimes asking for information can be downright dangerous. Sources have documented hundreds of attacks on RTI activists, some of them fatal, all because of the information they dared to uncover.
So when you boil it all down, the right to information is so much more than just a law. It's a right, it's a tool, and you could even say it's a responsibility. It gives every single citizen a voice to demand accountability. And that really only leaves one question. How are you going to use yours?